Chicago really knows how to liven up a wrestling show, don't they? I'm John Rentlin with a retro review of WCW Nitro from October 9th, 1995. Heading towards Halloween Havoc. Oh boy, I'm really not looking forward to that, but I'm going to retro review it. I might even retro review up to Uncensored 1996 because the Alliance to End Hulkamania. Because this Dungeon of Doom storyline just did not fucking end at all. That storyline was absolute shit. Now, Chicago, is a hotbed for wrestling, has been going back to the 50s, 60s, and stuff like that. And they really did help liven up a show that had some pretty dodgy shit and a couple really short matches. And really, quite frankly, only one good one and a pretty short cage match. But again, when you have a hot crowd, they can really make a show pass by pretty quickly. So we have recaps of Sullivan attacking Hogan. Then we have Sting at the table. He says he's going to solve the problem between Savage and Luger. And then we get the Shark versus Sting. The Shark was John Tenta. They couldn't call him Avalanche, too close to Earthquake. And he lost in this U.S. title match in about, I'd say 75 seconds. It was not very long at all. He attacks Sting early, gets hit with a few splashes, hits his head into the turnbuckle, and then gets hit with the crossbody 1, 2, 3. So yeah, that's your lot right there. Then recaps of Hogan being shaved, have fun on seeing that, and then we get Sabu versus Mr. JL, Jerry Lynn under a mask. Now, you might think that I'm going to shit all over this. Now, I'm not a big fan of Sabu, personally, professionally, it doesn't really matter. I've never really cared for his matches, but the Chicago crowd chanting Sabu, it did help, it motivated him. And even though they were booing JL, they certainly respected his ability, if only they knew just how fucking underappreciated JL was and would be throughout his career. And this is some pretty good stuff. We got flippy shit, we got dives to the outside. We get DDT off the ropes from JL, almost gets victory, but then gets trapped in the camel clutch, and oh no, he has to tap out. And that's your lot right there. Not a bad match. And again, helped by the crowd cheering on Sabu. I mean, loud Sabu chants. And then we get a Mean Gene interview with Sting, Luger, and Savage has to come out. And Savage is apparently paranoid, according to Sting. And everybody's just yelling at everybody while Luger says a few things and then kind of just sits there stoic. And Luger's going to face off against Ming at Halloween Havoc. Savage is facing off against Kamala at Halloween Havoc. Sting's proposal is, hey, we all want to be WCW champions. So after you win those matches, when you win those matches, face each other at the pay-per-view. Meaning that we don't have much for the card, so we're going to have guys work twice. That's pretty much what they're admitting a few weeks out from the pay-per-view. Luger doesn't want to do it, and he's kind of like, wait, you're putting words in my mouth. And then Sting just suddenly flips a switch and just starts attacking Luger. I thought you were a total package. I thought you do that. Nah, I'm sick of sticking up for you. Are you a total package? Yes, I am. Yeah, I'll face Savage. Pretty much reverse psychology, so maybe Sting wasn't a complete idiot. Only when he decided to join up with Ric Flair against Arn and Pillman at that pay-per-view. God, I'm going to have a lot of fun ranting about that show in October. Oh, good God, good fucking God. That's going to be so goddamn fun, even if I'm going to go absolutely nuts. So, that's the idea, is like, he berates him and everything, we get that stuff. And then we get Benoit arriving, where the big boys play, and he had that sweet mullet. And if only we knew what the fuck he would end up doing just under 12 years later. Yeah. Then Disco Inferno's dancing, and then Big Bubba Rogers, Big Bubba is just looking at him, what the fuck you doing? And Hawk kind of like, scares Disco, and then Disco takes a WCW hat off of a fan and puts it on one of his shoulder spikes. That's a smart thing to do, piss off Hawk. And they have a match that maybe goes a minute. Disco distracts, Hawk runs out there, beats the shit out of him after ripping his shirt, and then gets counted out. And then Disco basically gets chased back. Disco Inferno getting the shit beat out of him is about the only use, pretty much, not just in wrestling, but in life in general. The guy really is only good for getting his ass kicked. He's a fucking idiot and a fucking loser and a fucking Russo supporter. So why the fuck shouldn't he get his ass kicked? And also, he's a goddamn idiot. I mean, take Russo out of it. I mean, check the guy's Twitter. The guy's a fucking moron. Yeah, huge LOD chance, by the way. So naturally, Hawk had to lose by countout. And then we get, it wasn't really much of anything. We get the monster truck, arriving, the Giants monster truck arriving, and Zodiac's just dancing all and doing all this weird shit and everything. Whatever the fuck he's doing, everything. He's the Zodiac. He's the man with no name. He's all this and just don't know what the fuck I'm doing. It made about as much, what I'm doing made about as much sense as whatever the fuck Zodiac was doing. God, somebody's gonna gift that. I just fucking know it. Hopefully not, and I'm not that popular, but yeah, it was ridiculous. And then, so Hogan, by the way, also was cutting a promo here, perfectly fine in all black, but in a neck brace. But yet he was cutting the fighter promo just fine, so clearly his neck was fine. And then, the aforementioned truck shows up, and Hogan's like, well, I'm going to go out and get to them. And they got a bunch of PD that are separating them, but we can't see it because they don't want to actually show the fact that it's probably about 8 cops and not 80, which is probably a good idea not to get that many Chicago PD just to be on there just to do this shit. And then we get Arn versus Flair in a steel cage match, and the cage was like 8 feet tall, which was kind of hilarious. I mean, they almost could have just walked out of it like easily, stepped on the top rope, barely hopped, and just gotten out. Match was fine, some decent cage bumps and everything, but this is more of an angle where Arn had a foreign object or international object in his tights and used it, knocked out Flair, and got the victory 1, 2, 3. Now, Pillman had distracted Flair, so Arn could get this international object. That's a Ted Turner line, by the way. And Arn won, and then Flair says, I'll scour the globe for a partner, or I'll face you guys 2-on-1 on Nitro. And then gets Sting a little bit later. Oh, Sting, you idiot. Anyway, not a bad episode of Nitro and a pretty hot Chicago crowd. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.